Hi, my name is Destiny Schoaf, and today we will be discussing developmentally appropriate play in the preschool classroom. First, I will be taking you around the classroom, and we will be looking at our items that encourage developmentally appropriate play, and then I will be displaying some items to you that aren't developmentally appropriate. All right, let's go. Before we tour the classroom, we are going to take a look at a few resources to provide a better understanding for developmentally appropriate play in the preschool classroom. Our first resource is from the National Association for the Education of Young Children. They state that preschool children learn best when they have positive and caring relationships with adults and other children, and when they receive carefully planned, intentional guidance and assistance, and when they can safely encounter and explore many interesting things in their environment. Children enter preschool with different strengths. One child might love picture books and already know lots of letters, but may have trouble with social interaction. A classmate might find it easy to initiate play and share toys, yet have almost no experience with books and reading. That is okay. Preschoolers thrive when they experience new materials, roles, ideas, and activities, especially in pretend play. They take great interest in feelings and become better able to express their emotions and identify those of others. Social and emotional learning in preschool is huge, and it often comes up during play. And it is important to they also make important cognitive gains that invite them to represent their world in pretend play, such as symbols, objects, drawings, and words, and they show astonishing gains in language skills. Our next resource is provided by the Kaplan Learning Company. My classroom is full of Kaplan materials. They are a great company for developmentally appropriate materials for children birth to age 5. So what they suggest for the Dramatic Play Center is materials are accessible to children and organized by type. Play furniture is child-sized and provides enough materials to carry out meaningful play and promote diversity. For gross motor play, you should offer age-appropriate materials that stimulate a variety of large muscle skills for both indoor and outdoor physical activities. For nature and science play, provide pictures, books, games, and toys that realistically represent nature, arranged for daily outdoor experiences with nature, and use everyday events to help children learn about nature. Books. Offer a wide selection of books. They can be fantasy, factual, animals, people, nature, science, cultures, abilities. I sometimes add in student interests. Frozen was a big one last year. And then book times should be pleasant and they should be interactive. You should provide a space that is protective from active play where children can read without the extra distraction. Block play. You should provide a clear, sturdy space for block play. You should have a variety of blocks accessible to encourage children's creativity, and you should store the blocks by type. So if you have a bunch of vehicles, those vehicles should be together. If you have people, people should be together, animals together, and then the different types of blocks should be together. Fine motor or manipulatives. You should provide materials for children that are challenging for different skill levels, and materials are well organized and accessible to children. Sand and water play. You should offer ample materials to dig, dump, pour, and float. Set up activities to facilitate sand and water play. In my classroom, we changed the sand and water table by unit. So if we were doing an under the sea unit, I would provide water, sea animals, and of course the things to dump, pour, and experiment with that. So for math and numbers, you should offer various types of materials that support counting, measuring, comparing quantities, recognizing shapes, and becoming familiar with written numbers. You should provide daily activities to promote math and number learning. And for music, musical instruments are accessible to children as well as various types of music that children can listen to. You should offer music and movement opportunities for the children. Displays. So displays in the classroom should be colorful. The pictures should be simple. There may even be photographs around the room. They can be photographs that you find online of children enjoying play. They can be multicultural photographs, or they can even be photographs of your own children enjoying their time in the classroom. And you may also display children's artwork where the children can easily see them. And finally, art. You should provide a variety of art materials for children. Encourage individual expression by offering open-ended art activities. All right, now that we have a little bit of a background on an understanding of developmentally appropriate play in the preschool years, I'm going to move on, and we are going to do a little bit of a tour of my classroom. All right, so for the Dramatic Play Center, we have a dollhouse with I will bring it to the camera, with various toys. So here are our dolls for the dollhouse, and then we also have furniture to go along with it. The girls in our classroom tend to gravitate towards the doll center. This may have to do with the gender typed roles that children begin to learn right around the age of 3. There are occasions where one of my boys will jump in and play dolls, but that interest doesn't last very long. We have our dramatic play table. So this is where most of our children, they set up their food, they set up, they may even set up a doll in our high chair. And oftentimes they will be in the kitchen cooking their food with our pots and our pans and our plates. So you may even see them setting the table. They have one cup. They're very good about getting their utensils out. Now usually when I am observing the Dramatic Play Center, I see children, mostly the girls, are enjoying the time at the table and taking care of the baby in the high chair. And believe it or not, reverse gender roles, I have the boys in the kitchen. Most of the time I observe boys in the kitchen and they're cooking with our foods. They get very creative. We have steak and we have burgers and cheese. We've got fruits, vegetables, and I would like to note that everything is pretty realistically sized. There's nothing that's too small that may go in mouths, nothing that's a choking hazard. That is where the developmentally appropriate materials come in hand. And then I would like to note the size of our kitchen set, the size of our tables and chairs are very child size. I'm obviously way big to be over here sitting in our chair, but it is perfect for our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. A part of our Dramatic Play Center is, let me bring you closer. A part of our Dramatic Play Center includes dramatic play clothes. So we have maybe a vet shirt where they pretend to be a vet. We have a princess dress. Along with a variety of other things. We also have a stethoscope and a first aid kit where our children get to pretend to play doctor. What's fun with the stethoscope is that the children imitate what they may have experienced in a doctor's office, but what's entertaining is they don't always put the stethoscope in the right place. And then for developmentally appropriate play, we have our toolbox, all plastic items, nothing that's heavy or hard to handle. We have a toy phone in our toy box. We've got a hammer and some other tools. Our measuring tape is new. The kids seem to like that. It offers and then we have our puppets. Our kids really enjoy our puppets, and what I like most about our puppets is they have a letter to promote learning. So W is for whale, and we have M for mouse. Now, some of our 3-year-olds may not be prepared for the letter part, but they definitely have fun with the stuffed animal and using their hand to talk. And this is letter D for dinosaur. This is definitely a favorite in the classroom. We love dinosaurs here. So it's also a great tool for the kids who are maybe our 4-year-olds or our 5-year-olds who are ready to do letter learning. It is beneficial to say which animal starts with letter D, and then they would find dinosaur. All right, that is all I have for you in the Dramatic Play Center. All right, and for discussion on gross motor play, most of our gross motor play takes place in the gym or outdoors, and we have a variety of materials for the children to use. We have balls, we have bean bags, we have little play tunnels that they can crawl through, and then of course we have the playground outside. The playground is child size. It's for infants to around 6 years of age. It has an infant seat, but it also has, for the swings, but it also has your regular swing set, and everything is pretty low to the ground to promote safety and mobility, especially for these age groups, because they're still learning their gross motor capabilities. We also have tricycles for the kids to enjoy. We often, if it's warm out, we bring out bubbles and chalk. Sometimes we may even paint outside during our gross motor play. If they need a break, we do the painting. Now we're going to move on to our Nature and Science Center. All right, here we are at our Nature and Science Center. The big hit over here is the sand and water table. There's nothing in it right now because we're all on summer break. But when we get back, I will probably fill it with something that coordinates with our unit. We have a lot of toys that go in here. We have shovels, we have water toys, we have buckets that filter sand, all sorts of things that the kids really enjoy. And over here, we have different manipulatives. We have bugs. Now these are developmentally appropriate because they're not too small. They will fit in a mouth, but they're just big enough that they're not quite a choking hazard. We have our unit measuring kit. So they have these little chain links, feet. The kids find this one really funny. They find out how many feet they are tall by laying on the ground and then laying their feet across their body, mostly with help. But there's a lot of giggles with that. But these flashcards encourage their learning and measurement. So it says use the chain links to measure a hand. So they would grab the chain links and they would put it across the hand and see how many chain links long a hand would be. And what I like most about these cards is they have the pictures here to promote a better understanding, especially for our kids who aren't quite ready to read. Our basic tools for science, your safety goggles. These ones aren't quite developmentally appropriate. These are adult sized. Now these ones are developmentally appropriate because they are fit to a child. They're a little too small for me, but they may fit our 4 or 5-year-olds. And then we have our handy dandy little our handy dandy little micro glasses. The kids don't really use this for science purposes. They use their imagination more, and they use it for scavenger hunts around the classroom. Now, our science center is scarce. I wish we had more for our science center to help encourage the learning and the love of science. We do experiments in class. I think one that my kids enjoyed the most was the volcano experience, but we did that out of a pumpkin. We carved a pumpkin and then we did the volcano eruption out of the pumpkin's mouth and eyes, and the kids enjoy that. So our science center is more experience than manipulatives in the classroom. All right, now we are at our book center. Our book center is located at our carpet or circle time in the classroom. It's located right at the front of the classroom near my desk. It's a little secluded from everywhere else because play is everywhere else in the classroom, but on the carpet. Now our bookshelf is empty over there, but that's because we're on summer break. All of my books are put away, but most of our books that are provided are based on unit, and they're all developmentally appropriate to the child. I have picture books for our younger kiddos, and then I move into the more of the first time reader books. And over here in our reading center we have our alphabet learning. So if you see, we use a program called Fundations. And the way it goes is they repeat after me. I say A, apple, A, and then I move on throughout the year. What I like most is the children are given the opportunity to write their own letters. And if you look closely, you may not see letters. And that's okay, because for our 3-year-olds, letters may not be developmentally appropriate. At 3 years of age, they're not ready to hold a pencil the right way. Their just hands are not shaped for that yet. Now, once we reach 4 and 5, you may see a formation of letters. If you look closely here, we have a B that used to be here and an L, but they're still not using my skyline, airplane line, grass line, and worm line yet to form their letters, and that's okay. because with letter learning in preschool, we're learning at the child's pace, and where they are at developmentally. All right, we're going to move on to the Block Center. The Block Center is a class favorite. In our Block Center, we have just our regular wood blocks. We have Legos and more Legos. And if you notice, we don't have the itty bitty Lego pieces. We have large Lego blocks for our kiddos. In our Block Center, we also have Lincoln logs to build our houses. And we have, I think, which is a class favorite for sure, we have different sorts of Magna-Tiles. This one is definitely my favorite. This Magna-Tile set is my favorite because it is centered around the very hungry caterpillar. So it has the caterpillar, and it just has the whole storyline of the book. So it helps the children with storytelling, story recalling, and of course they can also build cool little towers with it, which is what the kids love to do most. They like to build really tall structures with our blocks, our tiles. So a kid favorite, a student favorite, I believe is the castle Magna-Tile. And what my students really enjoy doing are trying to make it based off of this picture. So they'll look at the picture and they'll find the piece and keep on adding on until they have built their whole castle. And a part of our Block Center, if you recall, the Kaplan resource stated that you should have everything sorted based on type. So we had our block types that I introduced, we had our Magna-Tiles that I introduced, and then we have our animals. We've got farm animals. We've got jungle animals. We've got sea animals, dinosaurs, and a few other manipulatives down there that coincide with block play. All right, our fine motor center is more of a math manipulative center. So what we have here, we have our peg number boards. I think our number boards are at the bottom. But the boards have a number on it, and then they put the amount of pegs on the board to coincide with a number. We have a number match puzzle. We have blocks with letters and numbers. Our bear color sorting activity. We have Mr. Potato Head. The kids really enjoy him, but they're awfully silly with him. And we also have some fun bean bags with colors and numbers on them that they really enjoy playing with. An activity that they really enjoy doing with these is matching the colors to the colors on our carpet. So if you see, I laid that on yellow over there. But what I enjoy most over here is the variety of options my students have in learning these items. Now we are going to move on to our music center. Our music center is across the classroom. All right, here we have our music center. We have our music player. The CDs are kept up for safety. But then we also have our individual music players, so that if the kids need some space just to listen to music on their own and explore, they can. And then our instruments are very tailored to the preschool age. They're big, they're bulky, they're wood, there's some metal, but we have all sorts of materials here that are just big enough for the kids, but not too big. We have a little rain stick to go with the teacher rain stick. See, now what makes this developmentally appropriate for the children is the size and the time it takes for the rain stick to be done, to keep attention. This adult size one is a little too big and takes a little long to keep child interest. Now, one thing I wish we had in our music center were bongos or drums. I feel like our kids would really enjoy that a lot. However, they would need to be child size rather than the really large ones that are taller than them. They would need to be small to fit what's developmentally appropriate for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. All right, next we have our displays. So our displays in the classroom are all bright, colorful. Now if you see here, I have these clips. These clips are to display student artwork. I have them on doors. I have them on the door over there as well. But where we display most of our student artwork is right over here on the Look What We Did board. My favorite part of the Look What We Did board is the Meet the Artist section. And in the Meet the Artist section every year, they make a face portrait. And then I also post a picture of them. Now what makes it hard about my classroom is space. So a lot of our artwork is displayed high up, off the ground, and not exactly eye level. To be developmentally appropriate, everything should be at eye level, like my shapes poster down here. But that's really hard because of space in our classroom. If I had more space, I would be able to display artwork at more of an eye level range. See over here at our door, down at the bottom is more eye level, but up top it may be missed by my students. All right, and our last center is the art center. So over here at the art center, we have our art easels. And then we have individualized bins. Now they are empty right now, but each student, so this was Harmony, each student had their own crayons, markers, paints, brushes, and other materials that may aid in creation. They had their own scissors. Now, I would like to note that our scissors are child safety size. So they're developmentally appropriate to our children. Now, these may not be developmentally appropriate for our 3-year-olds because they're not quite ready for the cutting hand motion. There are scissors that you can buy that are appropriate for a 3-year-old. However, we do not have those in our classroom. And then accessible to the students to promote more of an independent work environment is the drying rack, so that when they're done with their artwork on the easel, they can unclip it. And then put it on the drying rack and start new. So now that we've toured my classroom, I feel like I've touched on developmentally appropriate play. I would like to move on to things in my classroom that aren't quite developmentally appropriate. All right, that'll be next. All right, so it turns out that I donated most of everything that I found in my classroom that wasn't appropriate for ages 3 to 5. The reason I don't know why these things made their way into my classroom in the first place. When I inherited my classroom, it was packed full of stuff, and some stuff just wasn't great for the preschool environment. I was, however, able to find one thing that I still need to get rid of that isn't quite appropriate for children ages 3 to 5. And that is this little eyedropper. This eyedropper was found in a science kit, and though it may be nice for science, it's not appropriate for those hands that are still growing. Now, an example of one that is appropriate would be this very large one. Do you see the difference? This one isn't developmentally appropriate just because it's so dainty and small. And children ages 3, mostly ages 3, don't have the fine motor skills to do that yet. Now, I may be able to save this for my 5-year-olds. They may have those skills developed, or they may not. But this will be the tool that I will use that will be more appropriate for the preschool age children. I want to thank you for listening. I think it was eye-opening for me to study a little bit more on developmentally appropriate play practices, because most of my day in preschool is spent playing. I'm down here on the floor with the kids, and we're playing with a variety of toys while learning as well. Most of my lessons are in the moment teaching to guide and foster a love for learning in a way that they will enjoy it as well. So thank you for listening. Again, this was a presentation by Destiny Schoaf. If you have any questions, feel free to give me an email at dschoaf@iue.edu. Thanks.